Olá, aqui estamos na Santa Cecília TV com o programa Pessoas de Valor. Hoje uma edição do programa muito especial com duas convidadas internacionais. Aqui a doutora em psicologia, Ofra Ayalon, que trabalha com cartas terapêuticas, cartas metafóricas, é uma especialista no tratamento do trauma, dá aulas no mundo inteiro, está aqui no Brasil conosco dando uma formação, um seminário aqui em Santos, em São Paulo. E aqui a psicoterapeuta holística EdnaDvir, que é brasileira, muito cedo mudou para Israel e está aqui fazendo a tradução da doutora Ofra. E hoje nós falaremos sobre esses temas, sobre trauma, sobre estresse e sobre o uso das cartas terapêuticas, as cartas metafóricas que as pessoas não conhecem. É um assunto muito diferente e traremos em primeira mão aqui para o programa Pessoas de Valor. Thank you for coming to our programs, Pessoas de Valor. I would like you to introduce yourself and talk a little about your work with trauma, stress, and the cards. We will begin with you, please.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, I am a bit... So I was born in Israel 84 years ago.
I wouldn't tell.
I know.
What a surprise.
I know. This is why I'm saying that. And I've been teaching as a psychologist, teaching at the University of Haifa for many years, and also having a private practice. And I start being interested in trauma since 1973, when we had a very big community trauma in Israel, and it triggered my need to address this. I couldn't go on to do the usual psychological work without looking into what happens to a community that goes through such a crisis as we had. What happens to the individual? What happens in families, because I'm also a family therapist. And what happens to children, especially to children in schools and out of school. So this was the trigger that got me into this deep sea of working with trauma.
Since that time you didn't work specialized with trauma?
Until then, I was still young and I was doing normal psychology. You know, I was a therapist, I was a professor at university, I was teaching, but I didn't face trauma until this time.
It was in the time of the war, 73?
It was 73 war, which shook us very badly.
My grandparents were there at that time?
They were in Israel.
They were in Israel.
So
I was 9 and I remember because we were very worried here in Brazil.
Right. Yes, we were in great danger. And what I found out, that though the trauma was really like an earthquake, it shook institutions, it shook communities, it shook families and individuals. But then I could see how we can grow from the trauma. And this became my idea fix, my obsession to find out how people grow from trauma.
The resilience work.
You know, how people break from trauma, everybody knows. But how do they grow from trauma? And this brought me to first to do research and to develop methods of helping people and communities and children and the educational system and other systems as well to start developing this kind of coping ability so they can grow from trauma.
And what ideas did you have then? And what did you develop after that?
First, I found out that people are resilient. Listen, we are a nation that went through Holocaust. Immigration, as you told me yourself, from all different parts of the world, coming to a place which is quite difficult to live in, Israel, though it's very beautiful, but life isn't simple.
It was a desert, huh? It was a desert in the beginning.
It's still one third of the country is a desert, yes. It took a lot of imagination to think that we could live such a normal life as we do now. When the first people came, my father and my mother came to Israel in 1924 as children. And they found nothing. They found nothing, and they started actually from building the roots. I was fortunate. I was born in Israel, so this is for a Jewish girl in the Holocaust, in the World War II. It's a blessing. This has saved my life, and also I felt I owe something to society, to give back the fact that I was safe while other children my age, I remember I was 9 years old when the war ended, I felt guilty. I felt I needed to give them something back. It took me years and years until I came into my own senses and I started developing the programs that I was teaching here in Brazil. I've been teaching all over many countries. I lost the count already. And what I found out, as I said in our workshop, people may be different in color, in shape, in dress, in language, in habits. Inside, we are all the same. So this made it possible for me to develop one program that can adapt to so many cultures, ages, gender, family situations. This is how we use my COPE cards in my basic PH program. It's working everywhere.
So you had to find a form of work, a therapy, that would speak the same language in everywhere.
Yeah, because metaphoric language is universal. Our words may be different, but our imagination, our right brain work is the same everywhere. We imagine fearful things, we imagine blissful things. All over the world, it's the same. I didn't find the differences between nations and cultures, which were very, very different. I found the connection, and this is wonderful because we are all part of the same universe. As they say, we are dust of stardust.
Yeah, and we have the same dreams.
Exactly.
And how the cards came?
How the cards came? Oh, these are the children of my spirit. My spirit children, other children, and grandchildren and great-grandchildren I have in Israel, all of them. But these cards were, they came to be in co-work with this wonderful man from Germany who's called Moritz Eggetmeyer, to whom I owe the invitation to come and create cards.
He invited you to work.
He invited me specifically, and he gave me this challenge. He said, listen, there is so much trauma in the world. Can you contribute something in his line of work? His line of work was cards, metaphoric cards. Can you contribute something that will work with children in Angola, in Yugoslavia, in all different places? And they said, yes, I already worked with people from Angola. I worked in Yugoslavia, ex-Yugoslavia, during the war, and other places. Let me divine, let me create something that will speak a universal language. And this is how COPE was born.
Before we introduce the cards, I would like to talk to Edna. Thank you for coming also in the Pessoas de Valor. And yesterday you told your story, and very interesting how you came to meet and work together. Can you tell us about this in the program?
Delightfully.
And what you do also, of course.
I am the head of a holistic psychotherapy department in a complementary college in Jerusalem, in Israel. I've been a holistic psychotherapist for over 30 years, and I was blessed with the opportunity to meet Ofra 20 years ago. When I was doing some kind of body-mind workshop, somebody did a process with amazing cards that brought a whole group of people who never knew each other In 40 minutes, we were very intimate with each other. We were close. We were talking from our hearts.
Using the cards.
Using some kind of cards. And I never knew. I knew a little bit of tarot. I knew things that went, and this was something new to me. And I said, okay, who does that in Israel? And somebody said, oh, at that time she was called the mother of cards because she was the only one who was bringing them to Israel and teaching it at that time. I said, okay, I want to go and learn from her. I've taken a few courses with Ofra at her North Center in the north of the country. It's, in our terms, it's long distance. I've done a few private one-on-one consultations with Ofra. She became my supervisor. When I wanted to build my own workshops, I went to Ofra, took a lot of lessons from her. We became colleagues, met in conferences, met in courses, and even better, the last 5 years we became very good friends. So I'm delighted, I was honored and very excited when she invited me to join her to this opportunity. And as I said before, eu descobri que eu sabia muito mais português do que eu pensei que eu sabia.
You were born in Brazil?
I was born in Brazil when I was 5 years old. My family immigrated to Israel. We have a special word for that, to make aliyah, which means to go up to the land of our life, the promised land. I've been, I wasn't born in Israel, but I'm raised. I went to kindergarten, to school. I served in the military as a young soldier. I've learned psychology. I've done my training. And I am, the last 15 years, I give a yearly course of therapeutic cards for students to work for a long time and prepare them to be practitioners working with metaphoric and therapeutic cards.
Very interesting.
Thank you.
Vamos fazer pequeno intervalo e continuaremos com esses assuntos muito interessantes já no próximo bloco do Pessoas de Valor. Fique conosco, voltamos já.
Há mais de 25 anos, o Célula Mater promove a saúde com alta precisão de resultados em toda a Baixada Santista. São mais de 100 exames disponíveis, com resultados em até 24 horas. Laboratório Célula Mater, investindo em tecnologia em benefício da vida.
Existe bebê que é especial, está sempre na moda, bonito pra você. A mamãe e o papai, ele quer agradecer pelo banho de loja da estação do bebê. Roupinhas, acessórios, carrinhos, enxoval, toda a decoração da estação do bebê.
Rua Carvalho de Mendonça, 251 Santos. Estamos atendendo. Ligue para 3302-1970.
O seu bebê feliz na estação do bebê.
Mais bloco agora no programa Pessoas de Valor e continuaremos a acompanhar o trabalho, conhecer o trabalho da psicóloga israelense Ofra Ayalon e da terapeuta israelense EdnaDvir, que vieram aqui dar um workshop no Brasil para ensinar como trabalhar com as cartas metafóricas, cartas terapêuticas para uso em diversas formas de terapia. Ofra, can you teach us about the cards and how you created them, how they work? What is a metaphorical card?
Working with metaphors is, first of all, is really trusting our imagination, and then the next step is projecting our inner life on something else. This is not new, it's been known for ages. I created these specific cards. This is the cope, and then for couple therapy I created the Tandu with Moritz Egertmeier. He was the publisher of these cards as a projective tool, but not for diagnosis, just for communication. The first phase of communication is that the person communicates with him or herself, then communicates with somebody else. It can be a group member, a family member, or a therapist. And the idea about of the cards is...
Can you show the cards to
these are...
camera?
Yes, these are lovely cards. For example, this is a symbol of emotion and of sharing. And this is another symbol. As a matter of fact, this is a photograph of my daughter with her dog, but it means trusting. It means, for me, it meant trust. And this is another picture that meant prayer, addressing something above me, something higher, talking to the universe. And so all other cards came from my imagination. I asked a painter to paint them for me, Marina Lukyanova from St. Petersburg, and I sent her a lot of images. I want to show you one image. This is a photograph of myself taken about 30 years ago in my bedroom, which was sealed with plastic. And we all had the gas masks, even my grandson, who was 3 months old, because we were told that from Iraq, we are going to get missiles sent to us everywhere in Israel. Israel is very small, and the missiles travel a long way, and that they want to gas us and kill us. Same thing as the Nazis did to Jews. They want to continue there
was a threat of a gas bombing.
So every person in Israel got a gas mask and instructions, and when the siren goes off, to hide in a sealed room and put the gas mask on. My daughter was pregnant, 9 months old. She had to give birth any moment. The siren went on. Another grandchild was 3 months old. We were all sitting in one room, and I decided that I must lighten the atmosphere. So I start doing different movements to make other people laugh while their heart was pounding very much.
In that situation, you can't lose your humor.
Yeah. Humor.
Lighten the
exactly. Humor is a great help in coping with stress. And we took each other's pictures, like in Brazil, we do pictures all the time. And then I took the photograph and I gave it to Marina, and I asked her to draw. So if you see, my eyes are still here. And this, I think, maybe, if I want to concise everything that I said, that's in one sentence, is the trauma, the coping, and the healing.
In one card.
In one image.
And it's a metaphorical card, so for you it has this meaning. But if other person in a therapy or in a workshop...
Can I share something about this card? Because at that time, I was also in Israel, and I was also in this kind of room wearing a mask. I was a mother for a young child. And I was so stressed by the situation that, not like Ofra, I don't have such a great sense of humor. Maybe I developed it later, but not at that time. As a young mother, stressed with my son, I can remember this. And whenever I see the cards, I feel my heart pounding, because I almost, I almost killed my son trying to put his face in the mask. I was so tensed, I was so frightened. So whenever I see this card, and this is the power of metaphorical cards, because they evoke different memories, different meaning, different interpretation. And I'm sure that somebody who is not from our country and our culture will react to it completely differently. Yeah. But the power of the image is so strong that it can be emotionally understood and open a door to your inner self, very different to each person.
I would like to reinforce this, for you to say to us the difference between the talk therapy and cognition and the images, because they work complementary, but each one has one approach and has one result. So when you say words and when you think about it, or when you see a picture and you make a metaphor about this, how a therapist works with a patient with these two kinds of approach?
I try, whenever possible, as I was taught by Ofra, first of all to open with the images. Because the language of images was the first language we as human beings had as babies before we learned to speak. So our soul is full of images, of colors, of pictures.
That we don't remember.
That we don't remember or that we are unconscious of. So whenever I work with somebody, I open for him first the images. Even if I have word cards, or even if sometimes there are words on the card, I always try to direct the person, first connect yourself to the image. And then after your heart opens, because images are the language of the heart, then invite thinking, then invite cognitive processes, then use words, try to explain. So this is also a great tool also for developing emotional intelligence, because emotional intelligence is the productive, effective way of balancing between cognitive and emotion.
So you say the card, the metaphor, the images are the language of the heart.
The heart, and the words are the language of cognitive. So you help a person recognize, you help a person...
When you integrate both?
When you integrate, or when you help the person understand where he is best at and where he might develop, maybe. And you can see when you put cards on the table and you put a group of cards of images and words, you can see how some people will go first to the word and then they will look for the image because they're more cognitive, and other people will go first to the images and then to the word. And by projecting to the person later on and telling, pay attention, which one did you choose first? What was more calling you? You also help the person to realize his potential, his place of work. So it's another effective way to help people to better be aware of their own abilities and processes.
Wonderful, and very effective. Huh?
Much more effective than hours of therapy, I think. And I am a therapist also because it's quicker. I call it a hook. It's like it's a hook that goes under you, under the water, picks up stuff from the unconscious and bring it up. So
and
it's
then
like...
When you see this, you have the opening of the consciousness.
Yes. And our role as practitioners, as therapists, is not to tell the person what he sees, is with the right, no interpretation, no judgment, no analysis, nothing. This tool is about being a good question person. If you know how to ask good questions, you will help the person to get his own best answers. So we say that the person who holds the cards, he's the one who knows the truth.
Or she.
Or she.
You only help him or her to go along.
To go along, to open options, to see in the card more than one way, maybe 3 or 4 or 5.
Because in one image you can have a lot of
meanings.
Lots of significance
for his work, yes.
How do you develop such a great number of different cards? How do you do this? Imagination is the key, but what do you do also?
I'm sure that I harness my knowledge, my understanding of the human psyche, the needs. I focus on the needs. For example, here in the Tandu, I focused on all the different varieties of couple relationship. Man and woman, man and man, woman and woman, loving relationship, angry relationship, no relationship. And I asked the painter to do all these different variations. Now when I work in therapy with couples, I ask them this question. Please choose one card that represents a kind of relationship that you don't want to have. something that repels you, disgusts you, put it on here. I ask each of them separately, each of the partners. Then I ask, please now choose the card of an ideal relationship. They put it here. Now we start working. Of course, each of the partners can look at the choice of the other partner. There is a talk, there is explanation, they explain. And then here comes my other deck, the bridge. I say,
bridge.
How do we, as human beings, and you as human beings, how do you bridge from the unwanted relationship
that sometimes
to the ideal relationship? We need a bridge. So I let them choose a bridge that will help them.
Some kinds of bridge there?
I let them choose a bridge. So each of them chooses a different bridge sometimes that will help them move from the unwanted reality, which is reflected in the first card in some way, to the wanted, to the healing relationship, the kind of relationship they want to have, but they didn't know how to get there. By standing on the bridge, by being there, physically, mentally, spiritually, with imagination, they get the hope that this passage is possible. And now the therapy goes on.
It's part of the therapy. If you have a bridge, you can coach it. For also.
Yes.
You go to where somewhere you maybe don't like, to a place you desire, you wish to go.
Sometimes I ask, this is reality, and this is what you have, and this is what you want to have. Okay, and they explain, instead of complaining about each other, they talked about the card, which really makes the atmosphere so much better. And then I give them the hope. The bridge is their hope. They know somewhere there is a bridge. And now the therapy must go on. This is not all the therapy. It's just the beginning of the process. Very helpful.
Very powerful.
Also, it bridges between, I work with different, what we call enemy groups, Jews and Arabs, other places where there are war and social strife.
You talked yesterday about the work with Israeli and Arabs.
Arabs, yes. In my studio, in my center, we work with Arabs and Jews all the time, not about politics, about the human desire to meet each other. And we meet each other, as I said before, with the universal energy that we carry. And this is also a symbol that it is possible.
If you have a bridge, you can connect.
We started, and I asked, where are you on the bridge? If you are here and you are here, maybe you meet in the middle, or maybe you fall down to the water. Will the other person rescue you? There are so many questions that you can ask about bridges. But the word bridge, I think, holds a lot of hope in it.
Yeah. Well, foi assunto muito interessante, daria para continuar realmente por muito tempo. Pudemos conhecer um pouco do trabalho muito interessante e diferenciado com as cartas metafóricas, com as cartas terapêuticas. Agora estamos infelizmente caminhando para o encerramento do Pessoas de Valor, esse programa fantástico que contou aí com a presença dessas duas maravilhosas terapeutas internacionais, e nós queremos agradecer a elas pela disponibilidade e ao organizador aqui do workshop, que foi o Washington, que trouxe as duas aqui para Santos para ministrarem para nós esse workshop com as cartas metafóricas, as cartas terapêuticas. E semana que vem estaremos aqui com um novo programa, e até semana que vem.